Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPblab. It's Thursday. It's 7 o'clock, and it's time for episode number 90. 90, Bridget.
Can you believe it?
We're like 10 from 100.
That's awesome.
And some other maths. So, today's topic, we're going to be discussing Just Create January, which is something that we started here over on WPblab, and we're going to be discussing it as an incubator and an accountability group. So, Bridget, we don't have anybody joining us today. So how about you just tell us all about you?
Oh, hi. I am a freelance marketer, which means I will do marketing for you, social media. Specifically, I specialize in relationship marketing on Twitter, but also I do consulting and teaching. My blog is at bridgetwillard.com. I'm also the Make WordPress team rep. I co-host WPblab, co-organized Women Who WP, and a bunch of other stuff. I have also do collections on the side. If some of you people need to, like, what do you want to know? Like, I do so much. It's crazy.
Oh, Bridget.
Tucker's my friend and let me on the show. That's pretty much the bottom line. And we've been doing it ever since.
Let you on the show. I don't think that's how that works.
We're having fun, folks.
Bridget hacks into the show every week.
Yep.
I send her a link. She clicks on it and she gets in here.
I'm a hacker. I'm sailing.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog, where I'm blogging now. Check that out. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let's talk a little bit about Just Create January. So there's all these different groups that people have done, and these different little campaigns that various websites have done. There's stuff that happens in August. There's stuff that happens in October and November. You got, I don't know, all sorts of these different little groups that people are like, you should blog more. Come do this thing because we can make an acronym out of a bunch of letters and here's some words that whatever. So I thought, you know what? What's something that I can do that's part of January? I don't need to like commit to going to the gym because I already go to the gym. I don't need to worry about that anymore. And but I don't need to lose weight. I'm already doing that. I don't need to figure out whatever it is that most resolutions are doing. But I remembered a couple years back that Chris Lima sent over an email to me and said, hey, to a bunch of people, but including me, and said, hey, are you interested in joining a blogging group? And I was like, what's a blogging group? I don't even understand that. And mind you, he's not the first person that sent me something like this. He's just one of the people that I said, sure, I'll do that. So I joined his blogging group, and he says, okay, I'm going to give you a prompt. Here's a prompt, and I want you to write about it. Okay, cool. I'll do that. So I did that. I did that for 30 days, and I was like, wow, I wrote all this content. You can find all that stuff over at wpmedia.pro. That's that website that I did. And I haven't updated much on there since. So maybe I'll circle back around there and put some content onto that. So Just Create January was made as a way to make it so that I don't blog. Like, I'm not a great blogger. I can definitely write words, and half the time I've just been using Siri to like get the words out of my head, and then I edit it after.
Like the dragon thing, talking.
Right. Yeah, but she is not the dragon. She is like the mouse who's listening and trying to figure out all the things that I'm saying, and she messes it all up.
She's got a big giant learning curve. Siri does.
She totally does. So I've been using, I've been writing some things, and I thought, I don't want to just write stuff. I want to do what I'm doing here, which is I want to actually record a show. I want to record video. I want to, take some photos, put some stuff on Instagram, pretty much anything that has a URL when you're done with it. I want to be able to put that someplace and say, yay me, I did cool things. Go check it out. That was the kind of the genesis of this. Mm-hmm. Then I thought that, Bridget now running her own business and doing all her own stuff, she needs a place to be able to promote the things that she's doing. So she's going to be able to write a whole bunch of stuff about it, except she took a couple days till she started up and started getting into it.
No, I did an Instagram post. It was just more emotional. Like, no, but the thing is, like, my friends that do yoga, they get these 30-day yoga challenges, and they do this pose and that pose or whatever. And the truth is that I do need to write more And sometimes, like, I forgot, I used to be part of those prompt ones. And you
Mm-hmm.
get so, like, sometimes you just get in a rut and you think, oh, what am I going to do? And I was so, like I tweeted about it the other day, that I got so in my head that it had to be 1,000 words because that was our target, 1,000 to 1,200 a give. But it's my blog. I could do whatever I want. If it's 300, it could be 300. If it's 750, it's 750. It just needs to talk about the topic. But the thing that's been so good for me is the brainstorming, because a lot of times, and that's why I called it kind of a incubator when I said, let's call it that when we name the show, is a lot of times I think, oh yeah, everybody knows that, I'm not going to write about it. But then somebody say, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or we saw that, KFC tweet. And I'm like, oh Lord, people stop treating your brand like it's a joke. And I'm like, oh, I just started tweeting about it. I'm like, wait, this should
Unless
be
you're
my
Wendy's.
post.
Wendy's is allowed to do it. They can do it all they want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But unless you're Wendy's applies to what, 99% of all businesses. You, to be able to survive a scandal, that's DiGiorno's was the one that did Why I Stayed. Pizza with domestic violence. I've seen people misuse Me Too.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what you're doing, don't get in, right? So, but that, anyway, my point is, I was talking about, you're like, that should be a blog. I'm like, duh. Sometimes you just need another person to say, that should be a blog post. That should be a video. That, because you just go, oh, here's a rant. And then you're like, oh, wait, I could like actually develop this into something more and have content that matters and is timeless on my site. That's why I think it's so valuable personally to me. And I've been part of other blogging groups, but then it's like, oh, I didn't do this. And it feels like BNI.
Mm-hmm.
Like a BNI version of the blogging group where if you don't bring 5 leads and you really can't show up anymore. I don't, you know what I mean? Like there's so much guilt involved. To me, this feels more friendly, like, oh, we're all friends. Oh, you could do this. Oh, you could do that. Oh, you're right, I could. Oh, okay, I did it. Here's the link. Yay! It just feels more organic to me because we are the community already existed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't start Just Create January to build a community.
Right. We already had a community. We just wanted something to do with it.
The community exists and we're just all doing something together as friends. And I think that's the reason why, to me, this feels different.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to, I didn't want to provide a prompt. And I've had a few folks ask me, hey, we should have had some theme to this or some type of, nope, I don't want any of that. Why? Because I have a hard enough time asking my co-hosts to come up with topics to talk about on the show that I put together. I'm not good at coming up with these types of things. So I'm like, Bridget, what do you think about this and that? And then on WPwatercooler, it's the same way. I go in our chat room and I say, okay, WPwatercooler folks, I don't know what we should talk about this week. What do you think? And there could be some like Gutenberg-sized thing that's happening that I don't even know is going on. And then they say, oh, we should talk about this thing. And I'm like, what thing? And I look it up and I'm like, oh my gosh,
right.
We should totally talk about that. So, and I didn't want, since this is 30 days, we've talked about this on the show before. You never want to put something out there that many days ahead, especially if you're using any automation. And I'm using automation to like the highest with this because I will forget instantly to post this stuff onto here. So let me give you a little bit of a rundown of how this system's working, just so you can kind of see what's up here. So look, I'm going to share my screen real quick just so you can kind of get an idea of what what we're doing with this particular project. So give me 1 second and I shall show you. So we're using Facebook to manage this thing. And the reason why we're using Facebook is because everyone looks at Facebook.
Our Facebook group, yes.
Our Facebook group. So I don't know what's up with that. I got to fix that. So scrolling down, we didn't see that. So if you look here, I have 32 scheduled posts that are going to be happening.
That's some serious binging, JT.
Yeah. Well, those 32 scheduled posts are all the posts for this project. It's going to tell you, hey, it's January 4th. I want you to do something. It's January 5th. I want you to do something. It's January 6th. I want you to do something. And I just put the same text in here over and over and over again. It took me a while to do this. But if you notice, each one of these is a different photo.
Yeah.
And so I spent the time making a template in Canva to build this thing out. And I even came up with like different little scratchy things on the bottom just so it looks a little different. But I just wanted to give it a little bit of a personality itself.
It has a good like continuity, even though it's different enough to get noticed. And because that is the tricky part about doing a series. Because if the photo's the same, the people get blindness to it. So we'll point that out, as that was really clever.
I went to marketing school. I know exactly what I'm talking about here. Not really.
Well, not everybody does.
I did not go to marketing school. So upcoming thing. And I went through and kind of set these up and said, okay, you click on this, here's the information here, and then people go and write their, put in their links. And so I sent out a thing early on saying I want to do this thing. And I came up with this idea on the 31st. So there was no planning involved in this thing. I was like, I don't want to do a resolution and I want to talk about something. How do I do this? So I kind of wrote out this, here's how this thing works. And here's the thing for it. And then I had 10 people said, yes, I want to do it. 78 people said, saw it and were like, yeah, that's cool. And then I just started going through here and building these things out. So the idea behind this is if you can make something that has a URL or has a photo or a video or something that you can submit onto Facebook, then feel free to submit it. And we'll comment on it, we'll like it, we'll share it, we'll do whatever it is that we want to do if we want to do that. And I've been in some of these blogging groups where it's like, you're right, it's that whole kind of business to business weird thing where it's almost like a triber where it's like there's so many points and there's so many thises, and unless you share my thing, I'm not going to share your thing. We're not doing any of that. If it's something that relates to you, then share it, because you're going to share it anyhow.
Right.
But don't go and share stuff that's off brand, even if your personal brand is I like bikes and somebody does a thing about video games. Well, if bikes and video games aren't compatible, then don't share it.
Yeah, unless it's a bike that you ride on and play video games to exercise and do that at the same time, then it doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm saying is like the community came first. So these are just opportunities for us to create and curate. Because what if some of these things do match? Yeah, then I'm going to share it on my places and my clients. Because as a social media manager, it's my job to curate content also. So this is also making my job as a social media manager much easier.
Yeah.
If it matches, I will share it.
Yeah. Exactly. And membership in our group, I mean, we have 137 people that are in the group. Those 137 people, we have at least 37 of them so far that have done any type of interaction whatsoever in there.
That's a lot.
So I'm going to put a link in the chat. So if you guys are interested in joining it or taking a look at it or whatever, feel free to do so. But, we wanted to kind of give you an introduction as to what the heck is it that we're going to be doing for the next, however many days. And these 31 days within January, we wanted to go through and say, here's all the content that we've written. Here's all the cool stuff that we've done. Go do it. Mm-hmm. And this thing posts at 5 o'clock in the morning Pacific. So at 5 o'clock, it just automatically posts it. I don't do anything with it. Half the time I forget that I even did it because that's just me.
I was kind of wondering, like, wow, you're really up early.
Nope. 3 hours earlier or 4 hours earlier, I went to bed. Exactly.
So one of my favorite things that's happened is Jill Binder's. Is it an app?
It's like a web app. It's like a web. It's a website web app.
Yeah, because her
thing's pretty neat.
I was writing there like, oh my gosh, this is so cool because it's really working for me. And Jill said, I probably wouldn't even have started, my social media presences or posting had it not been for the challenge. And now, as a result, I have people trying out the beta, and people are excited for the release, and I'm grateful for the challenge. It's called do the thing. What is it called? Do the thing, do. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is awesome. It's made for creative people that want to have like a checklist of things that they want to take care of, and being able to kind of have that on there, and they can just go through. And I saw it. We all went out to lunch or to dinner with her back when she was here in Southern California, and she showed me a little beta of it, and I was like, wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that one's thing.do.
Yeah, thing.do. Do the thing.do.
Yeah.
Right.
And it has a cute little graphic and just all sorts of fun stuff there.
And not just that, but the cool thing is that I'm sorry, I'm editing because it feels like, I don't want to say this because we're awesome, but as a community, and this is what makes it different, it feels safe. Like, it feels safe to the point where people are saying, well, I don't even go on Facebook, but I want to share this here. Or people are showing the sketches of their wireframes in apps that I've never seen, because I'm not a developer or a designer. But it's so cool to see, like, oh, this is the process of how you merge two sites. It's not public, so I'm not going to share it, but I'm just saying, like, seeing people's getting insight into their process on how they come up with content too, I think it's been a really neat part of this challenge, because, like, I have, and other people have had said, well, what about this and what about that, and then all of a sudden it's a thing. And I know Roy Savan was like, oh, well, I want to do this. And all of a sudden he's messaging me. And then now we're partnering up on a package. Like, it just like happened. And it didn't feel like, oh, I need to sit down and have this business meeting. And it just, it's organic. And I think it's because we all have been such good friends to each other for real. And that's what makes the difference. It's the psychological safety in the place. Like, and I love brainstorming with people. It helps me come up with ideas too. And so Roy was saying, well, why does this need social media? I'm like, well, I've written blogs on it, but there's no concise copy. So I just went in there and condensed it, went blah, 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 in a Google Doc, and then there it is. Like, I never did that for my own site, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes talking to other people, is my point, talking to other people and having these interactions makes you realize, even for your own self, you might have gaps, or wait, that's something I do want to talk about, or I should create this app, or I want to do this Instagram challenge or whatever. Because, for us, we don't care. Go do a yoga challenge and post your pictures and then put the link in Instagram. Like, that's the point, is do something, right? I mean, we could totally make this into something bigger probably, but like, even that do something movement, where it's like, go serve at go volunteer somewhere. A lot of us do volunteer, especially in WordPress, right? WordCamp, speaking, organizing, etc. But, like, what if that's the thing, is like, we all find these things that we do, and now there's a bigger purpose. Because a lot of times when you're creative, for me, I'll just speak for me. For me, sometimes I just get in a rut. And, like, I don't even know what I don't even know.
I agree.
There's it's all been said. The world is over. Nobody needs another picture of haystacks. Monet did 7 in one day or whatever, right? You're like, nobody needs that anymore. But the thing is that as we go through and talk to each other, we realize we're living through what we believe in with WordPress, which is democratizing publishing and giving a voice to the voiceless. So we all have a voice. We all have a unique spin and a unique way of putting something good into the world. And the goodness of the people that I've met the last 2, 3, 5 years in WordPress is amazing. And so this is just, to me, it's so inspiring. Like last night, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to write a blog post to schedule for tomorrow. And I did. Like, it makes me go, okay, after the show, what am I going to do? You know, like I got to, that's, to me, that's, it's bringing it's not just the, oh, I should do this, but like the excitement back. The excitement of creating, not the mandatory requirement guilt.
Yeah, I mean, like those blog posts that I did for WP Media Pro, that site was built as a way for me to be able to document my methods of being able to hit record and record something and then edit it and then put it out on the internet somehow and then be able to make it so people can look at it and then share those things so other people are able to do that as well. And so because Chris was like, hey, let's do this thing and let's sit here and talk about this stuff, start writing some blog posts on how to do podcasting, how to do video stuff. And I'm thinking, other people write this stuff already. Like this stuff has already been written. This is why I haven't like launched a podcasting books written by Jason or something like that, because there's 500 podcasting books that are out there already. And all of them are doing it better than I am. But if I can put my own specific spin on the way in which I do something, then that makes it a little bit more unique. And so that's why I haven't written this book that says like, here's how to do this thing. I also feel that books just seem like you're dating the content the second that you hit print. And so I want to be able to edit it and make changes to it and do all that stuff with it. So not to go down a rabbit hole, which is why I'm kind of cutting you off before you even say anything, Bridget. But the idea is that I wanted to put this stuff out there and say, hey, here's how to do this. So like back then, that's when Google Hangouts first came out. And I started finding out all these little tricks and tips and stuff within Google Hangouts. And I wanted to share that stuff. Well, people that were in that group were reading this stuff going, wow, I didn't realize you could do that. That caught me going into thinking I could start writing tutorials about how to do these things. And I did. And it was super cool to be able to do that. And that kind of got those juices flowing to do this. I wanted to mention one other person who's been involved in this project as well as Lauren Nason has been curating the curated content.
I love it so much.
So if you go over to laurennason.com, and I'll have it in the notes as well as in the chat room, Lauren's been going through and kind of pulling out all the cool nuggets of stuff that are being posted every day. And then he's sharing those on here. He has like a there's a category for it on his site. So he'll go and write a little bit of stuff about what's going on that day, and then he puts links. It's almost like a link list of here's all the things that are going on within that post, and a couple links to the different things that people are talking about and stuff like that. So
it's cool because then it's not on Facebook.
Right.
Some people just can't deal with Facebook.
Well, and the main reason why we even did Facebook anyhow is that it's a place that already has an infrastructure in place, right, that I can say, okay, here's a private little area, and our private area has 100 and whatever people in it. But here's a private little area that no one else can look at outside unless they join, which means we have to vet them. And it just keeps it so we don't get spammers and a bunch of other stuff in there. So if you wanted to join this, we're going to have to approve you. But it gives you a little place that's safe, and it makes it safe for people who, maybe haven't launched a product yet, but they want to talk about it. Or maybe they are writing a blog post, but they don't really know what to say. And they're like, I have an idea, but I don't really know how to, help me flesh this out a little bit. And they can kind of work through this stuff. And so that's why I'm hoping what's going to end up happening here is that someone's going to have a social media campaign that they're going to want to do. And they go, I don't know how to do this. who knows how to do this? And then Bridget or somebody else will hop in and say, well, marketing wise, here's how you should do this. And then I'll come in with maybe somebody like me comes in and says, hey, here's a technology wise, here's how you should be able to pull this off. And now you have a whole cohesive package. And I was hoping that at some point somebody would post something in the Facebook group that has a messed up image tag that's not being showed up through the OG images. They have a messed up thing for the descriptions that show up on Facebook, like all those things. And we can kind of go through them and say, hey, did you realize if you installed this one plugin, it does this? And if you installed this other thing, it does that. And maybe if you tweak something in Yoast, it does this other thing. And I'd imagine at some point we'll get to that point where we can look at it and go, if you did this, it might be able to sell a little better, or you might be able to get more clicks out of it, or something like that. Right?
Exactly. No, I mean,
I guess, that's kind of that was something that I'd hoped would happen after the fact. Like, at the end of this, we'll look at it and go, oh man, you could totally change this and you could fix this up and you could try this again and whatever.
No, but that's what's so great about it, because they tell you when you write, just do your stream of consciousness, right? Ideally, proofread the next day, then publish. We don't always do that. So having another set of eyes later is distance yourself from being too hurt, because there's a vulnerability involved with creating. You're putting part of your soul out there, whether it's emotional or whatever. You built this. This is yours. It came from your person. And so because of that, it's really hard sometimes. And so I think what's so great about it is that because we do feel, I'm sorry, but like the psychological safety is the big thing. It's like, I feel safe. I know that if somebody finds like I found a mistake on a proofreading mistake a couple of times with Roy, I just DM'd him. I'm not gonna,
right,
embarrass him in front of the group. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Nobody can proofread their own work. It's super hard. Like, that was one of the things I think we did well at Give. And I'm sure they're still doing it. It's nobody published without somebody else. Didn't matter who you were in the company. Somebody is editing that before anybody presses publish, because your mind knows what you meant to say and you skip. So like for proofreading, for self-proofreading, I read backwards. Like I'll read the last paragraph, then go up, so that it's not in my head the way I know it's supposed to sound. And then read it out loud. If I have extra time, I'll print it out, because seeing it, but then this is all things, we're just trying to do something, right? And so it's super easy. And that's what I like also about it not being an ebook or a PDF. Right. That's what's so great about the internet, we can.
Well, we've even had like Jeff Hester. He went and posted an advertisement that he was building. He's like, oh, I'm building this advertisement for my website. It's not done yet, but here's a draft of the thing that I built. And it's like, wow, how cool is that? There's nothing I can do with it. I can't link it, can't share it, I can't like it. The only thing I could do is say, you know what, Jeff, that was a great job you did. And we did. Everybody was like, that's awesome. I love that you did that. One of the things I was going to suggest, and I don't know if you've ever used this plugin, Bridget, but there's this really great plugin called Share a Draft. And it's made by Nikolai from Automatic. And it hasn't been updated for about 6 months, but 6 months isn't like long enough to where like the thing's not going to work or whatever.
Is that like public image?
It's a public preview. It makes a URL out of a draft. So if you write a blog post and then save the draft, you can get a link for it and then be able to share it. And you can have that draft actually expire after a while. So the person isn't sitting in there in your site looking at your content while you're updating it or whatever.
What's that called?
That one's called Share a Draft.
Oh,
Yep.
That's a good.
It's made by an automatician, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I love the public preview link one. I used to use that too for client sites.
Yeah, share a draft is pretty neat. So what I like about that for these types of things is that you can you could write a blog post for our group, not be 100% done with it, and then submit it to the group and say,
Oh,
"Hey, I'm doing this thing. What do you think before I hit publish?"
yeah.
And then give us, a day to look at it or 3 hours to look at it or whatever. And then when you're done, you go, "Oh, that's awesome. I published it. Here's the new link of it being published."
Oh, cool.
So
Very
share
cool.
draft is
Okay, I
awesome.
found it on the repo. I'm gonna
Yeah, it's slug is share a draft.
with no hyphens, so that's
Yeah.
even better. Because
Yep.
sometimes they're hyphenated and stuff.
Yeah. So I put it in the chat. So feel free to
Sweet.
go take a look at that. It's pretty cool stuff. So if you are going to participate, or even if you're not, and you're doing this with some other folks, that's a cool plugin to try out.
Because I was doing just Google Docs,
Right.
but it's not done, and so it's when you see it in context, there's other things that you see that are different.
Well, in Google Docs, if you wanted to do the same thing, you could make a share link that's view only, and that's it.
Yeah.
The only thing about it is that that works once. So when you share that with somebody, they can see it, but there's no way to make the link expire.
Okay.
Where the share draft thing, you can just go, you get 3 hours to look at this, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So that's good for blog posts, but you can't really do that for social media. But still, like a lot of times we write things on social media, like we just do an Instagram post, and a lot of people, not necessarily in our group, but when I think of 3 accounts that use Instagram really well for microblogging. Microblogging would be our friend Karen Hauser, and Meg Delarange, and then my favorite is the Angry Therapist. He actually will just put a picture that says like love, and then all of the text is in the comment or whatever. So it's interesting because that's a different way of blogging. I'm not necessarily, I think it's easier for people to do that. Now we're a WordPress people, so we're like, oh,
We're
that
going to
should be
favor
embedded.
WordPress.
That should be embedded on your blog, and you should be writing more. You should own your own data. And well, because like back when I was running a Twitter chat a couple of times ago, I would embed tweets for the chat and the WordPress blog, right? And everybody's like, just use Storyfy. Who's saying that now? Bye-bye, Storyfy, right? And the whole point of leveraging a Twitter chat and then writing a recap afterwards is getting traffic to your website property.
Yeah.
Your web property is where you want the traffic, not Storyfy.
And sadly, if you embed a tweet, let's say, and for whatever reason your Twitter account gets deleted, all those tweets go away. Or if you deleted a tweet, those tweets go away. Well, now you have broken links that are on your site that are going to content that doesn't exist anymore.
Or they did it. Like that's one of the reasons why I like old school retweets, because people do the quote retweet, and then when the people delete the tweet, it says this content is not available. And you're like, what the H? Okay, so but you know what I'm saying? Like it's so there's a risk in that, but I like putting tweets in there. I've been using Ben Meredith's Better Click to Tweet to pull my own things, which he has up for sale, by the way. BetterClickToTweet.com. Yeah, he's selling it. I think. Wow. I think that's what I saw. Well, he doesn't have time for that. He's got a job. He's doing support at GetWP.com, the most robust online donation plugin for WordPress. So
another one, just to kind of go through each of the different disciplines of sharing content that we're working with, is the other one is if you're a designer and you're designing stuff, there's a site called Dribble, DRIBBBLE.com. So 3 B's instead of 2. And that one is where people are posting stuff that are from designers and getting inspiration from one another and so on and so forth. I'm looking in here and, there's some folks that are saying I'm intimidated by it. Like, Sherry's saying, I'm so scared about this. I would feel the exact same way on GitHub.
That's how I did feel on GitHub.
I would feel the exact same way on CodePen. If you're using CodePen and you're a CSS designer or a JavaScript person or something like that, CodePen would be you'd have the exact same problem. You're like, oh, somebody's gonna look at my code and it's gonna be awful and yeah. If you've never looked at CodePen, codepen.io, it's Chris Coyer's company. They've been doing this stuff for a while now, but it's the same sort of thing. It's like, I wrote something, here's my thing, it's awesome, I put it on a silver platter, feel free to steal everything you want out of it. Dribble's the same type of thing, so is GitHub. So it's like it's open sourcing that content. But what I'm saying is that's the place to share this type of stuff, is find the Dribbles, find the GitHubs, find the and if you just need a thing that was going to display it properly, that's the place to put it at. So you can kind of do that as well. Yeah, Behance, that's another one that's pretty awesome. That's made by Adobe.
Yeah.
So find those things if you want to either find inspiration or have a place that is a URL that you can share with our group and say, hey, I made this cool thing, or I made this thing that's not even done yet. What do you think?
Right.
What should I do different or anything like that? Sherry's in the chat room, but she's like, it intimidates me. I get that. I mean, my code is not the prettiest.
There's a vulnerability in putting stuff out there.
Yep.
It's
I mean, I went on my personal website on jasontucker.blog. That site is everything I've ever done on the entire internet, ever on there. You can scroll back to the very first time I hit publish on livejournal.com and read Jason when he was in his 20s doing God knows what. And then you can go to where Jason started installing WordPress, and he transferred all his stuff from LiveJournal to WordPress, and he started putting all that stuff in there, and he started using B2, and he started using movable type and all that stuff. I've gone through all these things, but I've copied all that stuff on that website. So, I get it. It's crazy and it's scary and it's whatever, but I put all my content out there, and I'm not expecting you to do the same, but I think that if you're wanting to make your progress, if you want to show that you're learning something, doing something like GitHub shows you all the commits, all the times you actually done something. It's the perfect way to say, I don't just wake up and do this every day. I actually have a progression that I've gone throughout my days and years of existing, that I've built this thing out.
It shows you the accountability to yourself too. And I think that a lot of times when we're improving, because we as people are iterating, right? Yeah. It's hard to go back and say, like, I feel like, oh man, I'm only 212. I'm almost to 200. But then my friend Julia you started at 237, right? Okay. So like, that's a weight thing, but that's the point. Is you forget, like, and I'm like, oh, I just started on GitHub. Like, remember when you didn't have an account? Right now, I'm posting issues about Gutenberg. I posted 2 issues about Gutenberg on GitHub. Okay, I don't code at all, and I'm like, I don't really know what the answer is. I just know this is what it's doing. Then I'm like trying to put a screenshot, and it doesn't record the whole thing. And they're like, "Oh, Bridget, please don't ever do this again." You know what I mean? Like, who knows what they're saying? But the point is that I'm trying. So I have a couple advices on that. So one thing you could do, if you don't want to put it on CodePen at all, you could put it on your own blog and then make it a draft. It doesn't have to be public. The process of you taking it out of your brain and putting it somewhere with your hands could help. The second thing is make a private board on Pinterest. This is a great way to use Pinterest, because Pinterest, especially for visual things, code, design samples, like collecting fonts and story for a website, the brand standards, the fonts, the colors, the hexes, all of that design elements, you can do that on a private board on Pinterest, and then you can show that to people or not. And it's not out in the world of designers. It's not on the CodePen dribble where people can go, "Oh, those colors are terrible." I mean, if that's what you're really afraid of, but then the act of you stepping out and saying, "Okay, this is what I'm doing." And then you can make it public later if you want.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's about, let's do the behavior. Like when I started walking, I said, I'm just going to go take pictures of boats. I didn't say I'm going to walk 2 miles. Sometimes you have to trick yourself into doing something. Now I'm like, oh, I walked 2 miles. Now I'm going to walk out downstairs, whatever. Now I'm going to start yoga. And now it's not that big of a deal, but before it was. So a lot of times that's what's, and here's the other thing, Just Create January. If you need somebody to help you get on GitHub or something, I'm sure one of us could help. Just private message us if you don't want it out in the group, or say, hey, will anybody spend an hour with me showing me how to put my stuff on Dribble? That's what we're here for as a community, to help each other.
Yeah. I mean, there's levels of how private you want to go with this sort of thing. If you're somebody who just wants to write and you don't want to share anything, but you just want to express the fact that you wrote something, feel free to tell us, hey, I wrote this thing, it was really cool, and you used, like a diary app on your phone or something like that, or whatever. There's a bunch of ways that you can get involved in any of this stuff, and it's not just submitting stuff to the group. It's also interacting with the other people that are there. If you're a great editor, or you're a great social media person, or you're whatever, feel free to critique a little bit and take a look at it and say, hey, I saw this thing. You may want to take a look at this, or I saw this other thing. Maybe you should change this a little bit and just see what it does. I don't know. For me, it's like I really wanted to have I really wanted to submit one day just an Instagram photo. And I was like, I took this really cool photo when I was on my hike. And I was like, this would be really sweet to do. And I was like, wait, I wasn't just hiking, we were letterboxing. And letterboxing, you can go look at my website and go check a look at that. How about that? And so, so we were letterboxing. I was taking photos. We were walking this crazy hike. I literally had like 6 activity type items that were occurring at the exact same time. And I'm like, which one's the shareable content? What things should I do here? And, in the end, I was like, I'm just going to put an Instagram photo in here. I'm going to talk about that I did some weight loss stuff. And here's my heart rate that happened during that time. And here's my step count. And I threw all those things in one blog post. And I was like, wow. I mean, yeah, I blew a whole bunch of different, posts that I could have wrote, but I got it all out there all in one shot. And I, essentially kind of showed folks, here's me on Instagram, here's me doing this other thing, and here's this other activity we were doing. So get creative. This is the time to play. This is the time to kind of mess around and figure out what's what and how things are going to work. And if you're like Bridget and you have like your own little Gutenberg Bridget website type thing or something you're playing around with, feel free to do that too.
Oh yeah, I need to do more on my Gutenberg Bridget site.
Exactly.
I mean, like now I'm like so jazzed into writing. I'm like, oh yeah, Gutenberg Bridget, who cares? Like, it's gonna get.
Yeah, but you could write a ridiculously cool looking blog post with all the Guten blocks that may or may not work next week.
Try out the blocks, and that is being iterated so quickly that whatever I did 2 weeks ago, there's more choices now.
Yep.
So it's fun to experiment and remember why we became creators. That's to me what it feels like. Remember why we're creators and not just doers. Like people go, I'm a code monkey. None of us are monkeys. We have brains. We're doing something. We're making something. That's what we do. We're all makers. Like you always say, I made this thing. I did this thing.
I did this thing. Exactly. What else was here what else was it that we were wanting to discuss regarding this stuff? We've kind of dumped a whole bunch of different things here.
What we hope is going to happen. Like, What is your goal? Like, so we did this, we're all doing stuff. What would you like to see in June? Or like what kind of result, like Jill said, what would you like to happen with this that you would be like completely satisfied? You could sit down, you're like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah. I think personally, I want to have more content that I can hopefully Google for and find. I've Googled for things like, how do I get a short link for a Google Hangout or start a Google Hangout, quickly, just putting in a quick little URL. And then come to find out that there's like /start or /something. I can't remember what it is now. But you just put that little link in there and it works. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wrote this. Oh, darn. Because no one else wrote about this but me. So there's those sorts of things that you can play around with. And I want to look at this and go like, okay, so I wrote this piece, but I found my own blog post. How cool is that? I want to do a couple of those sorts of things where that just means that I'm really good at SEOing myself.
Yeah, but
I don't know if it means anybody else is getting those SEO, searching for that stuff and finding it.
That's why I started writing for myself. Right. So I could just send it to this one person, and somebody asks me again, I'll send it to them again.
Yep. And that's the majority of the content on the jasontucker.blog site, as well as the WPmedia.pro site is like that. It's just a bunch of things that I wanted to play around with and look at. So I guess to answer your question, it's I want to focus in on a couple of other different places that I'm not normally posting stuff at, so that way I feel like I've kind of contributed a bit more to either those different social networks, or that I got to kind of play around with things that I just haven't touched yet.
For me, I'm thinking group wise.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that our group collectively felt more confident and would sit in our chairs a little taller, because we were doing stuff and we saw each other do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we started WPblab's Facebook group as a way to kind of rally the troops to get them to watch our content. I mean, it was very self-serving in that, but it was like, here's an event that's occurring. You got invited to it. Click on the link and you can come to the event and check it out. But I think it's becoming more than that as we start doing more of these types of projects. I mean, I'm hoping that this is the catalyst to, doing a couple of these other ones that other people are doing as well. Like, I'd love to get people who are bloggers to do like the video blogging stuff that happens in August, where you have, what was it, SSS Vega? Yeah, Vedas. Like those types of things, finding those and going, okay, I know you've never done this before, but like take out this like $1,000 device that you have in your pocket and point it at yourself and hit record. And then when you're done, put it onto the social network of your choice. It's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's YouTube, it's whatever. And you put that content out there, because at the end of the day, this show is made for people that want to either market themselves, market their customers, or learn more about how they're being marketed to. And now that you have all those different directions of that, the way in which that content's happening, that's the stuff that I want folks to be able to really learn about when it comes to WPblab.
Yeah. I mean, the crowd does that, and they have like a really big community too. But I just love how we did the shift with, okay, what kind of shows do you want, and which one of you want to be a guest? Like, instead of it, here's what we're doing, come and watch us. Now we're like, hey y'all, all y'all need to be participating. We want you, like,
I'm messing with Roy as usual. Hello, Roy. Salutations, Roy. I don't know what I guess we haven't asked that question to the community yet. It's like, what is it that you want to get out of this? Yeah. I'm finding that there are people like, like Lauren, who they're finding more content to consume. They're finding more things to look at. I'm seeing people that that are wanting to share this content. I'm a big sharer type person. I run a site where I share content to try to keep it off my own personal website and just push it elsewhere. But taking those sorts of things and finding like the good golden nuggets that are in there and going, yes, this is the thing that we should be sharing. I want to share this out there and show other people what's going on with the things that you're building and stuff. So yeah, I think confidence is definitely a big thing.
Yeah. I mean, we could be like sharing our GitHub accounts,
Yeah, if you wrote some really cool code, feel free to slap it in there and say, I wrote some really cool code.
It's not even just that. Like, I started it with the women's shirts. That was my first GitHub repo. It was like, okay, well, these are the shirts I have. These are the ones I like. This is my weight. This is the size I wear. This is my bra size. Like the normal things that we look at to see, like, like a man has a chest size of 42 or whatever. Like it's that, because that's the circumference. Like, because it's so frustrating. And I had a friend send me 3 shirts from her client that's a band, and she said, I want you to use these for your project. So each one of them is an issue. And like, let's make a resource. I will be the person modeling this, and you can see what this shirt looks like on my body. I'm not perfect. I have a belly. I'm 217 pounds or 12. Yes, 212.5. And this is what it looks like on me. And this is the shirt I wear if I buy it from Kohl's. And this is the shirt that's 2X. Like it doesn't all. That's what I didn't understand. GitHub doesn't.
Do you want your brand's logo to actually look good on somebody or not? Is pretty much what you're telling the people that are providing the shirts to the community. Right?
So it's not, not just with vendors, but I did have this conversation with Devin Sears for Bluehost, and that's why they came out with that really bitchin' girl shirt that they handed out at US. He goes, did you like that, Bridget? I go, I did like it a lot. It was long. It was a really good, it had short, cute sleeves. I mean, it was cool. But the thing is, we can bitch and go blah, 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 or we could do something about it. And that's what I learned from Morton at Seattle. He goes, everybody could comment on the Gutenberg. You don't have to read or write code. So I commented on the strategy. That's what made me write about the economic impacts of the timeline. Then it became on my blog post. Then it got shared on WP Tavern. It's because somebody said to me that I respect, not just me personally, but in the talk, you guys, WordPress is going to be what we make it. Go and comment. And Kevin Hoffman was saying you could comment on Gutenberg stuff. It's just like a blog. I mean, on GitHub, GitHub is like a blog. It just looks intimidating. You know what I mean? It's like track tickets in WordPress. It looks like it's more complicated, but it really is just like commenting on a blog. So it doesn't even have to be that. In fact, Dwayne McDaniel from Pantheon takes notes in GitHub. That's where he takes his notes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he makes it like, it doesn't, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't even have to be code. There's a lot of strategic marketing and design advice that isn't necessarily code. And that can be there too. And like Designers Matter, which is why we were talking about Dribble and all those other places. So that's the thing, is like, let's do it. We're smart. We can do this. We all have a voice that matters. And sometimes, nobody started by nobody started by being perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are like, oh, you're so good at Twitter. You know what? When I started Twitter on March 27th, 2007, it took me a year, literally, before I realized what replies were and that people were talking back to me. Now I check like every hour to see if people are talking to me. Okay?
Right.
Everybody starts somewhere. And James, yes, go find my GitHub. Gidgee is my thing. And I did wear one of my Women Who WP shirts in there that I like. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, we can all do it. I love that you did this, Jason, for me personally, for us as a group. It's inspiring me. It's so easy to get in a rut. And I'm like, Oh, resolutions, blah. We really just need achievable goals. And doing something today is an achievable goal. And now I'm like, here's my Thursday calendar. I wrote my thing. It says I wrote it, and then, I did it. Like, I did
That's
it. I
paper?
wrote
Wow, yeah, paper.
WordPress. Oh, yeah. I have to have
Heck yeah,
paper
with
calendar.
paper.
You know why? Because I
Hmm.
have Google Calendar, and that's stuff that's for sure going to happen. But I need to be able to keep track of stuff that is happening. Oh, did I follow up this person? Did I follow up with that person? That doesn't belong on my Google Calendar. That would make anybody crazy. And then sometimes I forget, oh, when did I do this? When did I do that? Oh, I'll just look back. Because sometimes I remember where I wrote it. And there's a neurological reason for why you write stuff, but that's a different show.
Yeah. Now, if somebody does go and writes something in a piece of paper and then submits it to the Facebook group, that's going to be awesome.
Right? No, it's somebody
Bridget, if you do that, that's going to be awesome.
Who is it? I think it's Hey Isaac. Isaac from GoDaddy is doing calligraphy and putting it on Instagram.
Whoa, that's cool.
So he's taking a picture of his calligraphy. And Suzette does that with her crochet.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing something physical and you're
Yeah.
taking a picture of it and you're sharing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I can't put all that stuff in my Google Calendar. I'm sorry. It's too much. I just want my weight in there and like actual appointments with people. I don't want like, oh, Bridget needs to take the dog out.
Oh, then you don't want to see my Google Calendar.
It's all about to me, like, I like things in small, achievable. I like small, achievable goals. So to talk about weight, because it's easy for everybody to understand, I didn't say, oh, I need to be 200 pounds. I said, I need to be 230. I was 237. I grew up by 10 pounds. And then I only want to get to 185, which is still like 30 pounds too heavy, or 40. I don't care. I just don't want to be diabetic. I'm out of my diabetic danger. But like that, to me, it's like easier to go, oh, I only have to do 2 more pounds. And then I'm 210. Like, that's achievable. Oh, I only have to walk today. That's it. I only have to. So when I was getting rid of clutter in my house, I would go, okay, I'm going to donate 2 bags to Goodwill. That's it. And then I would take those 2 bags to Goodwill, and then I'd go to In-N-Out or psychologically pairing tasks you don't want to do with something that's a reward is a good way. So I used to do this crap when I was a secretary, because that's boring, boring, boring work. So what you do is you go, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to reconcile the bank accounts, and then I'm going to go get a donut. Or I'm going to reconcile the bank accounts, and then I'm going to go on Twitter. That would do something that I wanted to do work-wise that was fun, right? So if you eat the frog or whatever, you do the thing you don't want to do, everything else is easy. That's what I like about this. I only have to do something today. I don't have to plan my whole calendar. I only have to do something today. And now it's done.
Nice.
Like, you know what I mean? That's what I like about this challenge.
Right.
Is that it's just something. It could be anything. For my first day was a Instagram post. Then it was a blog, and then there's a blog. I don't know if it's going to be a blog tomorrow. Maybe it'll be something else. Like, I'm not going to start painting tomorrow, but that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could.
Yeah, you totally could. And put it on something and share it. Whatever you want.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I really like that we get the choice of the medium too.
Right.
That's what it's like. We have, all of us are so creative in so many different ways, And
it, like you said, it could just be code. And I'm going to be writing some code and slapping it on there. It could just be code. It could just be, I wrote this really great title for this blog post for my client, and I can't show you the rest of it, but here's the title for it, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Or just say that. I mean, because a lot of times you're not allowed to tell what you're doing for clients. But if you just say it, sometimes it's like, people forget how good it is to feel like congratulated. And, I was watching this documentary on snow monkeys in Japan, and they groom each other and stuff. You forget, like, all of this grooming seems like, oh, you just need to be, your ego needs to be, no, we're social animals. it's good to have an attaboy and pat on the back. Attaback, which is attaboy with a pat on the back. I just invented something. Good job. It's 8 o'clock.
Yep, it's 8 o'clock. That's it, folks.
Everybody.
Thank you very much for everyone for coming over and hanging out with us. We had a good, lively chat room as always. I always tell people we have a lively chat room, and I'm always pleased at the fact that we have a great, lively chat room. I want to say thank you very much for Sherry and Cheryl for helping us out with our show notes. Every once in a while, James puts a period or a comma or semicolon in there. So good job for you as well, James. I really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you all for participating. And if you haven't if you're not participating, either just joining our Facebook group and checking that out, or getting involved and actually starting up something with Just Create January, feel free to do that as well.
And they don't have to go backwards.
No, heck no. Don't go backwards.
Just start.
No. There's no prompts here. There's no we're hoping that you had X number of them. Make sure you bring at least 3 friends. You don't have to do any of that. Bridget, where can people find out more information about you and the projects you're working on real quick?
BridgetWiller.com.
Sweet. That's it, folks. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.